The goal today was to stand up on our boards in Lake Michigan on January 7th.
That was fun. I wasn't sure if as soon as we hit the water, if I was gonna get that shock and then be like that feeling.
Yeah.
Never got it. Like as soon as you walked out, I'm like, all right, here we go. And then when you start paddling, like you got on the board, start paddling, I'm like, all right, like let's do this, And I was pretty confident we were gonna get one ride. I wasn't sure if we were gonna like ride it to shore or if it's like a hey, I stood up, and that's as far as we could get.
The only time where I was like, oh, that's a lot of cold. In the first ride that I took, I kind of went over the nose of my board, and I was so determined to try to save it that I took like 50 yards worth of water just down the front of my hooded wetsuit, and it just went right down to the belly all the way through, and I was just like, I don't know if this is gonna work. As soon as I stood up, I looked directly, like just dead into the camera. Like, are you getting this? And I looked down and it was only recording my feet. Like, I didn't have me on it at all. And I was like trying to show off, and then I was like, oh, never mind, I guess. But my feet were on the board, so technically I was like, well, at least I got that part of it. It counted.
Well, when I saw your camera pointed down when you were walking back out, I yelled over to you like, hey, your camera? I'm like, oh, do I even have a camera anymore?
As far as like winter surfing goes, my core wetsuit was spot on. The water, I think today was 43. I knew my wetsuit could hold up to it, but I didn't know how I was going to react like while I was like out trying to do something.
Yeah. So my wetsuit, I don't even know what the thickness of it is. I bought it when I was still living in Alpena, and that is supposed to be like a paddle boarding / surfing wetsuit. So like the shoulders are more mobile. So I know it's not super thick. Putting your wetsuit over top of your gloves and boots, that would have probably made a pretty big difference. Because for me, even like with hunting or just being in the cold, like my hands and feet are the first thing that will feel the cold or like be the problem.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened today.
My board is only a couple of years older than pretty much all the modern boards. It was like one of the first waves. I bought that board basically as soon as I saw Matthew McConaughey riding it on the cover of People magazine.
And that was like, this is the epitome of surfing. So
yeah,
gotta have that board.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And it was just because I was like, oh, like I didn't have a boat, and I just love being out on the water. So that's where I got that board. It's my very first board. But because it's a few years older than like what we're riding and what everybody else that we know is riding, it is a barge.
Yeah,
and so
I've ridden that board. It's a barge.
It's great for like if you're trying to teach someone how to learn how to paddle because it doesn't tip
on a calm lake. Yeah.
But I was so jealous of like the ability of your board.
Yeah, I am glad. So when I bought my board, I can't remember which model it specifically is, but it's this more surf style or oriented, so it has a little bit more of a arc to it, so it's a little more bellied, and allows you to get up on that wave a little easier. And I did notice that even compared to like the boogie boarding we've done with your nice boogie board, like it wasn't so crucial for me to be like in the perfect spot on the board to catch the wave. Like I needed to be back, obviously, like that's appropriate because I did nosedive a couple times, so I was too far forward and whatnot. But like the ease of it picking me up and then launching me and then finding that time to like just have the freedom to stand up and not have to be like perfect.
Right.
Like that was nice.
Because the only thing I can do with mine is I can put it on a line and then I'm on that line the entire time. Yep, that's where I'm, here I go. We had first session, went in to warm up and kind of adjust a few things. And there was just like a moment when we were both standing in the back of the van where I was like, I don't know if I want to go out for a second rip, but I also had no idea if you were like wanting to or if you were just hoping that I was going to say no.
Well, in my mind, I was going, I don't know if I want to go out for a second rip, but I'm not going to be the one that says no.
That's what I was thinking.
So we both went out for a second round that we didn't want to do. Kind of. No, it was a lot of fun. I still wanted to.
Well,
but I could have been convinced not to.
There's a greater feeling of satisfaction standing up and surfing during a winter, like a winter wave, than just like fun summer waves where everyone's kind of like, you're like, I earned
Oh,
this wave.
You're the only one out there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there was people on the like pier or whatever boardwalk break wall filming us because we're the only two idiots out there trying to surf.
When I saw those people walking, I was like, don't look totally stupid.
Well, I caught the first wave, and when I stood up, I looked and I saw a camera in that person's hand. I'm like, I gotta go all the way in. Like, there's no other option.
Yeah. At one point, I caught myself floundering, and like I was just gonna kind of like walk my board along the bottom and like, just like in the most like ungraceful looking way, but I knew they were watching, so I actually got on my board and started paddling to look cooler.
Even though it was harder.
Yeah. It was not the way we should have been doing it, but I was like, this is how they imagined that it works.
If we were doing it correct in their mind, this is what it would look like.
Yep. The only last thing that I wanted to talk about. How good was the Ludington Meat Company?
That's my new favorite place. I don't know if I would call it a restaurant or a place I want to buy meat at. I walked around and immediately had to buy jerky.
Right. And so, but then you could see, like, there's actually like a perfectly good seating area. And then I could see that in the summer, they've got like what looked like a pretty good patio.
Outdoor patio there.
Yeah. And then like an actual bar and everything there. But then that was cool to see because, for one, that was like the most amount of like ready to go premium cut meats that, and I'm not just saying that, like, that's the most I've ever seen
Ever.
in person.
Ever. Like, the amount of prime ribs they just had,
Yeah.
I've never been at a place I didn't have like more than a couple.
So we ordered our food, and I ordered the smoked wings. I thought those were smoked to perfection. Oh, and then I ordered chili because I was like, do you guys still have soup? Because I was still so cold. Yeah, overall success.
I would do that day every weekend if Lake Michigan cooperated with waves.